my goal, my hope would be that we get people in the audience, Zoran Mamdani maybe, to come and see this thing and to say, even if they don't agree, even if they're of a mind that Israel is somehow operating in the wrong, I sure would like them to listen to this story.
Hello and welcome to the Ann Phelim Scoop.
I'm Anne McElhenney.
I'm Phelim McAleer and we're back in America.
Los Angeles.
America. Stinking hot.
Oh yeah, stinking hot actually.
Los
yeah,
Angeles.
I'm kind of happy about that actually because we haven't had much heat this year in this part of the world.
Yes.
So we're certainly getting it now.
Yes.
Actually, it's pretty warm here at the beach actually, and I think if it's pretty warm here at the beach, it's really stinky in other places.
Yes.
So we're glad we're not in the other places that are super stinky. Anyway, Phelim, what's happening on the podcast this week?
Well, I suppose we should bring people the news that
Huge news.
That Top Cat and Scaredy Cat are speaking to us still.
Well, actually, that was a huge relief, by the way, because I thought we would get very bad behaviour.
Yes.
Actually, into other news about pets, actually, before we left Ireland, there is a neighbour who has a dog that visits us and
every
year, and he comes and asks for treats, and we've watched him grow old over the years, and he's deaf now. But we just shot a little bit of footage of the poor little love coming over when we were leaving.
We had this is us with the suitcases in the car, and suddenly he appears.
Mr. Tyson, he's a lovely dog. He's very, very nice. And he's got very bad teeth, very bad breath, and he's
typical European, really.
Yeah. Actually, that's very true. Yeah. And he's deaf as well. But anyway, very nice. But anyway, yes, the cats are talking to us. Yeah. Right, Phelim. I think we have other big news as well, though.
We're bringing October 7 back on the road. We're going to a campus, at least one campus in September. Bowdoin, Maine. We'll give you more details. We're going to interview the director of October 7, our play about October 7 in Israel. The truth about the war in Gaza. The truth about the beginnings in the war in Gaza. You can't have an opinion on the war in Gaza until you see October 7, the play. So
and you won't believe who went to college in Bowdoin. But we'll bring you that in a moment.
Yes.
We will bring you that news in a moment. And we'll also be speaking to our dear friend Wesley Smith, who normally speaks a lot about euthanasia, but has written an incredible piece for the National Review about a new study connecting mental health outcomes from abortion. And if you haven't heard about it, you'll understand why when we talk to Wesley.
Yes. So I wanted just to do a little piece about Disney and the Democrat Party, who have both noticed a disastrous decline in their fortunes in recent years. And, you know, like they say they want to change. But I suppose the first way you've got to change is...
this is like alcoholism. You've got to admit that you've got a problem.
Yes. And
hi, my name is Disney. I have a problem.
See, but
nobody wants to see my movies anymore, and I don't know why, but I think I do know why.
Hi, I'm the Democrat Party. I have a problem.
Nobody likes us anymore. I don't know why. I think I know why.
Yeah, but I don't think they know why. Or
I think they know why, Phelim. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that in during the show, whether they know. Well, and speaking of hate,
oh yeah, that's very good, Phelim. Yeah, speaking of hate, yes,
Kneecap. My favourite Irish band, who, by the way, are up in court at the end of September. I'm going to lobby management for me to go over and cover that court case.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yes. Management's very strict around here.
Yes.
So the Kneecap, the allegedly anti-Semitic Irish rap group, alleged Hezbollah supporting, alleged Hamas supporting, they've just made what I believe to be a fake announcement. We will bring you the truth.
About their fake announcement, okay?
Yes. And we have an American climate change journalist who spent his career saying the ice has disappeared.
Award-winning journalist in the climate change arena, by the way.
Yes, and the ice has disappeared. And guess what he slipped on?
Bum. Think you know where that one's going.
It's wrong to laugh.
Speaking of disappearing ice, one of the publications he worked for has backtracked on the very narrative he's been pushing for years.
And Deutschland über alles then?
And Germany, you have to, I have to say, we have a little joke, by the way, at the Unreported Stories Society that we've never shared before. And on different occasions, people in our company will say that they're the CFO, as in Chief Fun Officer. I'd like to say this week I will be taking on the role of CFO because I think this is a Chief Fun Officer job of what Germany have been up to this in the last while with their public safety announcements. You have to see what their latest public safety announcement is like. It's just extremely fun. And I tested AI, by the way, to help me make sense of it all.
German
And
safety announcement, don't take the showers.
thank you, by the way, for everyone who's sending comments, and we're going to read some of those comments, and please do leave a comment. And the very last thing we're going to do at the very end of this show is something that means a lot to all of us here. And you'll remember, some of you will remember, that when we had the October 7 play in New York, Abby Poland, who is the aunt of Hirsch Goldberg Poland, who was murdered by Hamas, came to the...
He was a hostage.
He was a hostage when she came, actually, to the show. He was a hostage in 2024 when she came in the summer to see the play. Subsequently, about a year into his captivity, he and 6 of his compatriots were murdered by Hamas. And the anniversary of that massacre of those 6 was last week. And Hirsch Goldberg's mother, who is extraordinary, spoke at a memorial celebrating his life, and it's the most extraordinary piece of... She's just extraordinary. So at the very end of the podcast, we're going to play that, because I just think I wanted to share with anyone. There's a little bit of an issue with some of the audio on that, but we'll also have the full transcript in the notes in the podcast. Okay. Phelim.
On to the big news. Yes, we're bringing the October 7th, the play. We're bringing it to Bowdoin in Maine, Bowdoin College, Maine. Bowdoin.
On September the 18th.
Yes. So if you want to reserve tickets for that, it's free in, because we think it's very important that the students, there's no barriers to entry for students or the wider community or the wider American community or international community. So go to October 7 Bowdoin, BOWDOIN.com. October 7 Bowdoin, BOWDOIN.com. So as you remember, October 7, the play. After October 7, we went to Israel. We were in Ireland at the time.
Yep.
And we saw the way the world was going, even in Ireland. Like on October the 8th, Israel was the villain.
Yeah. It was extraordinary, and it remains extraordinary to me that when you see those photographs, you see the photographs, particularly of those girls being, being manhandled by these terrorists, blood-stained trousers, a horrible situation. To think that the world didn't side with the girls, didn't side with the victims is beyond. It continues to be beyond belief. And it's one of the many reasons why this play is so important and why we want to bring it all over the world. And Bowdoin is an interesting place, Phelim. I mean, some of the alumni from Bowdoin are kind of interesting. There's a rather famous alumni who people in New York would be very familiar with.
Yes. So if you're in New York, you're the next mayor of New York. It is an alumni of Bowdoin, yes. Zoran
Mamdani, who set up the chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine at Bowdoin. So
we're going to invite him.
We should definitely invite him.
Yes, to the performance. It's a stage reading one night, September 18th. It's very, very important, and we're grateful for all the people who are going to make it happen: the actors, the supporters, the donors, the college. People who, it takes so many people, as Hillary Clinton would say.
It takes a village.
Yes, to make these things happen. And we've got some wonderful professionals. And we're going to be talking, now we're going to go over now, actually, and talk to the director of the stage reading, Jeff Gurner. Jeff is an amazing actor. He was in the October 7th play off-Broadway,
in New York.
And then he was also directed the stage reading at Princeton. So we're going to discuss all that. We're going to go over to that interview with Jeff now, and that we did just before we came on air. So we're joined now by Jeff Gurner, who is the director of the performance at Bowdoin. Jeff has been on the show before because he directed the performance at Princeton and was actually a star of the show in off-Broadway. So just to give you some background on Jeff, he's basically been in everything and has done everything. He's basically spent decades working as a professional actor.
Multi-talented.
Everywhere from Broadway to off-Broadway. He's been in the regions, he's been on international tours, he's done film, television, voiceovers. He's even been a producer. So he's, just to give you some examples of what he starred in, he has starred in Lisa Stephen Friday's Trans Am, the Yellow Stocking play. He said basically had a 30-year career. He was on The Lion King. You were The Good Wife on television. Am I missing anything, Jeff?
You laid out quite a bit of it. The first ones you mentioned were ones that I'd produced. I didn't star in them. Okay. But yeah, you've got a good deal of it laid out there. I'm hiring you as my managers.
Fair
Yes,
enough. Fair
well,
enough.
more of a publicist.
Well, it's good
Actually.
to see you, Jeff. It's really good to
You
see you
too.
again.
You too. It's been a bit. It's nice to see
It
you.
has.
So we're going to Bowdoin.
Yeah.
First of all, you must like this play, Jeff.
Well,
Or is it just a job?
no, it's no, truly, it's far more than that. You know that this piece is important to me. Not just because I'm Jewish, but because as a theater artist, not to sound too maudlin about it, I think that there are important stories that need to be told, and sometimes the theater is the best vehicle for it. And what you guys have done here by creating this verbatim play and bringing these real people's real words of the day to the stage gives us an incredible opportunity to show audiences, what happened there, and to honor these people who suffered it.
Yeah.
No, it's more than just a job. This is meaningful to me on a very visceral, personal level.
Yeah, I remember the first time you and I met, actually, and you said something very much to that effect in New York when we first met. And obviously you played the most, I mean, it's very hard. It's hard to choose favorites out of the characters in the play, but I've always said my favorite was always Zaki. Just who's an extraordinary person, and I hope one of these days. Let's hope this might happen, but I'd love you to get to meet him. I'd love to get him over. Let's watch this space. I think we could do this one of these days.
That'd be a blessing. I would love to meet this man. I mean, it's remarkable what he did. Not just, I don't know how familiar your listeners, your viewers are with all of the people whose stories we enumerate in this play, but Zaki Mizrahi, who was the role that I played, rescued somewhere north of 90 kids from the Nova Festival, or people from the Nova Festival. He was an Orthodox Jew, so it was Shabbat, and he shouldn't have been driving a vehicle according to Jewish law or any of the things that he did, except for he has this wonderful line in the play where he says to save a life is the holiest thing in all of Judaism. And of course, he broke Shabbat, and he rescued all of these people, and it's an incredible story. It's incredible bravery, and there are that many more people who survived that awful day because of his devotion to his Judaism and to his people, and so it was an honor to get to. I hate saying play the part. We weren't playing roles, but to retell his stories. So.
Yeah. Just to remind people. October 7, it's a verbatim play. We went to Israel after October 7. We interviewed about up to 20 people. We chose 14 stories, told them, tried to represent them on stage. But every word that you say on stage is verbatim. Every word on stage is verbatim. Some of the stories are connected. Some of them are standalone. Is this the first verbatim play you've been in, or and what do you think of the verbatim technique, and is it better or worse than other plays? Or tell me about it as an actor's point of view, because I know you're directing this, but tell me about the idea of verbatim theater.
I think maybe it is the first verbatim play that I've ever acted in. It's hard to remember. I'm old, but as a medium. It's incredibly powerful. There's a challenge in, as a playwright, when you're writing a play, the structure's all yours to do with what you will. But to take these people's actual words, transcribe them from your interviews, which I don't know how you did it, because I know you guys went through hundreds and hundreds of hours of these, but to pare it down into a tellable story must have been incredibly challenging. But as a medium, I mean, there's no truer way to tell a story, because these are the words. This is what happened. It's the truth. So it's whereas our job as an actor normally is to bring truth to the words of the playwright, we're now just bringing life to true words of the people who lived it. And it's incredibly exciting and challenging. And
just remind me, Jeff, in this play, are you going to be acting, or are you just directing?
No, just directing for this project. It's difficult to take on both
Yes.
Yeah.
roles.
Yes.
So, but this is great. I'm excited, and I'm honored. It's a gift to be able to sit on the other side of the table and help these other actors, find a way. I always tell them, I don't want you to retell the stories. I want you to relive the stories, so that the experience on the stage is alive and vibrant. And even though the words we have came from your interviews, so you were just sitting across from the interviewee, and they were, remembering what happened. In the telling of the play, much of it, the feeling of it, the way we stage it, even though this is a reading, is in the moment and it feels alive and all of that. So, the real challenge is to tell the story, but to relive it, as I said,
Yeah.
moment.
I have another question. I suppose we could talk about this all day, but I want to talk about the play, but then I want to talk about the wider significance of the play. But you've actually been one of the few people who've been in a full performance of the play and a staged reading of the play, because it was a staged reading at Princeton. And it was a full performance off Broadway. This is going to be a staged reading at Bowdoin. Some people who'd been to both said that they almost felt the staged reading was more powerful, because when you strip out all the sound effects and all the lighting and all that it was just the stories.
It was distilled down to just the words, and it became more powerful for some people.
However, the off-Broadway version, you felt it was very immersive. You did feel like you were in the middle of it. So I just wondering, from your feeling, how is it wrong to compare, or
Well, no, it's not wrong to compare it. I mean, there are two different ways of presenting the story. When we acted in the off-Broadway version, obviously we had all the bells and whistles of full costumes and lighting and sound effects. And I mean, the soundscape that we had created off-Broadway was it was devastating. I mean, it really, those elements put you in the middle of it. But you'll recall, and I think we may have talked about this before, there was one night off-Broadway where the sound system went kaput.
That's right. Yep.
And I remember all of us actors, our job was just to carry on and tell the story. And there was something that was actually very special about doing it without those bells and whistles. We still had the lighting, but without those sounds, it almost made you as an actor, it put you in a position where your sensory overload was your own. It was from internal and from the other actors on stage. Yeah. So there's something very exciting about doing it as a reading. The actors will have the scripts in hand, which is all part of the development process and all part of the arts process. Readings can sometimes be incredibly effective. And because we won't have the benefit of lights and sound, it's really just about these people's words. And it's not to say that their words became secondary when we did it as a full production, but when you're doing it as a staged reading, it's the words are everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it really becomes incumbent upon the actors to honor those words and to tell these stories without those other, theater aids.
Yeah.
So Bowdoin, we're going to Bowdoin. Had you been to Bowdoin? Have you been to Bowdoin before? Bowdoin College in Maine. It's a great college, and it has quite an impressive alumni. Actually, Hastings from Netflix and various people. But one of the alumni, I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but Zoran Momdani. The next. You live in New York.
Yes, the next mayor of New York, apparently, according to the surveys.
It seems that's in the cards.
Yes.
I don't need to get political or offer. Nobody wants my opinion on any of this anyway. But I do know that he went to Bowdoin, and I do know that he's incredibly controversial. There seems to be a massive groundswell of support in the city for him. And it does appear that he will be the next mayor of New York City.
Perhaps we should invite him to come to the performance. We know that he set up Students for Justice in Palestine at Bowdoin.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something.
I think
Yes.
if you were to sit down and watch it, I don't know that it would change any minds. I think, one of the things about this play that we learned off Broadway and when I directed it at Princeton, um, a lot of the times it feels like we're preaching to the choir. And I think the echo chambers in which we all live nowadays in modern politics, we seem to have lost the ability to desire to listen to each other and to have a respectful dialogue. And in the old days, you could agree to disagree and then you could go to the bar and it would be okay. But now there's not even any room for listening or entertaining the other side's thoughts. So, a lot of times I feel like we were telling this story to people who, wanted to, just be reminded of what happened on the day. But my goal, my hope would be that we get people in the audience, Zoran Mamdani maybe, to come and see this thing and to say, even if they don't agree, even if they're of a mind that Israel is somehow operating in the wrong, I sure would like them to listen to this story.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I mean, it is important, though, for the choir to practice, as they say, for the choir to hear things. And I think it's progress that they are hearing this, that people is, and the thing is, the media will have to cover this. This will keep October 7, the words October 7 in the headlines, because the world seems to think that the war in Gaza started on October 8th. It didn't. It started on October 7th. And we were very, very, one of the most important things we did, I think, was when we interviewed people, we asked them how they spent October 6th, because, we wanted to show that they were living quiet domestic lives.
And peaceful lives.
There was no war. The war was brought to them on October 7th. This will allow the words October 7 to be heard in headlines, in conversation.
And we know also, I mean, we did have people in New York, people who just, came across the play by accident. We came across many of those. And also at UCLA, I just remember students who had come across it by accident and were like, wow, I didn't know any of this. So, at every time we have a performance, we're continuing to expand the number of people who know exactly what happened on October 7th.
Yeah.
And it's so important to keep that story alive, because there's a lot of misinformation out there that's trying to ignore what happened that day.
Yeah.
Well, and I think vehicles like this play and the Nova Festival exhibit that's been touring all over the world, I believe, are these are important. They do keep it alive and they do let people remember. Regardless of how people's minds have been steered since October 8th. And I still marvel at, I guess, my own naivete in that October 7th happened. And I always say by October 8th, Israel was somehow the bad guy.
Yes. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I don't think that's any accident. And I think that it's extraordinary to me, the way that this has all factored out, without getting into an argument about, I'm not going to argue with you guys about it, but without talking about 1948 on or 4,000 years ago on, it's extraordinary to me that the 7th was forgotten so quickly.
Yes.
And that's why we have made a play called October 7th. Do we have any of the original actors from the off-Broadway performance?
We do. Two of the actresses who did it off-Broadway, Alyssa Simon and Leora Kalish, are joining us for Bowdoin. And then we have several actors returning from the Princeton reading. Actors are busy, and if you're a lucky actor, you're working. So we did lose some of the folks from the Princeton performance, but we're in the middle of casting now. We've had a bunch of really incredible submissions, and it's always amazing to me because when I go through these auditions and I'm seeing how many of these people, even in their slates, if people aren't familiar with a slate, that's where you say, hi, my name is Jeff Gurner, and I live in New York City, and I'm blah, blah, blah. Many of them are enumerating the fact that they are Jewish and that they think that this is an incredibly meaningful play, and they're honored to even just be auditioning, and it's moving to me.
Wow.
And then I watch them audition, and I watch them, bring their own lives to these words, and it gets me. I mean, it's been now almost 3 years since we did it.
Wow.
2 years. What did we do? 2 summers ago? Yeah.
No.
It wasn't. It was last summer. It wasn't
Yeah.
this summer.
Not
it was
this
last
current
summer.
summer, but last year.
Well, last May, June.
Last May, June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It still gets me. I watch a person give a raw audition from their living room,
Yes.
and looking at the character Tal, who says we were hit hard by the darkness, but it gets me now. But we will dance again. And I watch these random actors be affected by these words as they're auditioning, and it's
amazing.
It's extraordinary.
No, it's
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
No, we're really, really, really looking forward to it. And obviously, anyone who can join us in Bowdoin, we would love to see you on the 18th of September.
Yes, you can get tickets or register. Actually, it's free, but you need to register. And you can go to October 7 Bowdoin, BOWDOIN, October7Bowdoin.com.
We'll have that link up on the screen
And that's
as well.
where you can register. And we look forward to seeing you there. We're very excited. We want to bring this to every campus on the planet, and some like Columbia and Harvard. So if you're out there, you're a college student, or you're a benefactor who wants to fund us to go to college students and go to college campuses, go to unreportedstoriesociety.com, give what you can, and let's bring this play to everywhere on the planet, including every college campus and including Ireland. We're still determined to bring it to Ireland.
Yes.
Wow.
So, yes.
That would be something. I'm not sure there's a more important set of venues for this piece than college campuses. So
Or Ireland.
Yes.
Which Ireland's, I always say Ireland's just one big college campus.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So,
apparently so.
yes.
Anyway,
Jeff's a bit nervous here. He doesn't want to criticize Ireland, but we'll do it for you, Jeff. Jeff, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being part of this project.
We will see you. We will see you very soon in New York.
See you very soon in New York.
I look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. So very much looking forward to Bowdoin,
Yes.
Maine. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in September. They're presumably to be very nice. But,
Fall colours, maybe?
Maybe fall colours. Anyway.
So now we go over to your friend, actually, Wesley Smith.
The amazing Wesley Smith, by the way, who, as we all know, we've had Wesley on the show many times, and he is, I suppose, a world expert on the rise of euthanasia across the world. But the reason we have him on today is because of the most recent National Review article he wrote, which is very, very interesting. Let's go over to that interview and hear Wesley tell us about his latest article for National Review.
So we're joined now by our friend and friend of the podcast, Wesley Smith. Wesley is a bioethicist, an author, a podcaster, a lawyer. He's probably best known for his essential work exposing the rise and growing acceptance of euthanasia. But what caught our eye was his latest piece for the National Review, where he reports on a significant and large scientific study of the mental health consequences of abortion. You probably haven't heard about it because, of course, the study does not conform to the liberal talking points about abortion, that abortion is a consequences-free activity. So here to discuss the study and his piece in National Review is Wesley Smith. Welcome, Wesley.
Welcome, Wesley.
Thanks. Good to talk to you guys again. How you doing?
We're good. We're very good. Good to see you.
Yes.
Beautiful background that you have there, Wesley. So tell us about this study. What did they discover? What are the big takeouts?
So first of all, who did the study? How reliable? Studies. Is this by a pro-life organization? And tell us what the study found.
Yeah, no, it's actually not by a pro-life organization, which is why I thought it was worth bringing to people's attention. It was published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research. And it's a very mainstream publication, peer-reviewed. And it followed pregnancies of more than 1.2 million women. Women, most of whom gave birth, some of whom had stillbirths or miscarriages, and some 28,000 plus had abortions. And the authors came to a very interesting conclusion. Let me read from the study rather than summarize it. Quote, hospitalization, we're talking about mental health. Hospitalization rates were elevated for all types of mental disorders. Compared with other pregnancies, patients with abortions had higher hospitalization rates for psychiatric disorder, substance abuse disorder, and suicide attempts. Well, that really caught my eye because
right.
if there is correlation isn't necessarily causation, and the authors don't say that the abortion caused this. But here is what the authors do say, and these are not people identified with the pro-life movement. This is a peer-reviewed journal, and here's what they wrote. While these findings are not evidence of a causal link, they support the possibility that abortion may be a marker of an increased lifetime risk of mental disorders. Yes. Well, that's pretty notable. And if a woman is thinking of terminating a pregnancy, one would hope that going through the informed consent aspect of, quote, choice, that this study would be brought to their attention, because it isn't necessarily causation, but it isn't necessarily not causation. We don't know. But if there is that correlation of mental health risk or mental health consequence, which, by the way, was, according to the study, stronger in the first 5 years and then dissipated over time until about 17 years in.
Right.
Mental health and was the same for women who had given birth and women who'd had abortions. So it was not a polemic, and I think it's a very important study that people should know about, regardless of whether one thinks abortion should be legal or illegal. If there's an issue that could arise because of it, women have a right to be aware of it.
So has Planned Parenthood come out and said, we're going to let everybody know about this potential danger?
Well, they haven't called me and asked me to be on their podcast.
Right.
But, I don't know. I haven't heard from them. I haven't heard. The only reason I know about this study is I tend to look at medical journals, because I always say, if you want to see what's going to go wrong in the culture next, look at the professional journals. So I make a point of looking at a lot of scientific journals to see what they're advocating, what's going on. This, of course, is not an advocacy piece. This is a study that seems to me to be of importance and worth discussing, not only with regard to the issue of legality, but most particularly with regard to the issue of safety for women.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, so it appeared in a prestigious journal. Who actually conducted the study?
There were a bunch of doctors, and the study was conducted, and psychiatrists, and the study was conducted of using vital statistics from Quebec over a 17-year period.
Wow. I mean, it's quite dramatic what they've discovered. I'm just wondering, and I checked
1.2 million women. This is not like we looked at 50 women. It was 1.2 million women who had different experiences with birth, whether it was giving birth, stillbirth, as I mentioned, miscarriage, or abortion. And they called it induced abortion. This was induced abortion, meaning that the women involved who had the higher elevated mental health issues had an abortion, not had a miscarriage or something of that sort. Induced abortion was the term they used.
And I think I've checked, and I think from what I looked at today, I couldn't find any mainstream media outlet anywhere on the planet Earth that has recognized that this study, it was a huge, as you say, huge study, by the way, and longitudinal, right? Because they followed these women over a really long period of time, right?
A lot of years, 17 years. And of course, we're not shocked by this.
No.
But if people want to read the whole study, it's actually available. I linked to it in my piece in National Review Online. And all you have to do is hit the link and you can read the whole thing for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, funny, a friend of ours who's a psychiatrist, she actually made that point herself. She was at a college, I think it was in North Carolina, where the floods were, and no one at the college was affected by the floods, but all over campus were these signs saying, if you have been affected, if your mental health has been affected by the floods that happened,
or if if you've walked past the television and you might have seen some scenes that upset you, get in touch with us here. And she made the point, which was brilliant, was that they didn't have that at the same time that they had abortions were happening. A lot of people she was treating at the campus had abortions, and there was there was no facility like that available.
No counselling was available. The counselling was available if you were affected by the floods
by watching them on the TV
that you were not affected by. But if you had, they were virtually encouraging people to have abortions on that campus. But there was no indication that could have any effect on anyone there at all.
Well, what can I say? These things are what they are, and this is a highly political issue. And I made a point of writing this piece in a non-polemic way. I was just describing the study because I think people have a right to know about it. And I really think that if this study had come out and said women who give birth actually have greater mental illness than or mental consequences, health consequences than women who abort, it would be on the front page of the New York Times.
Correct. Yes, exactly. And it's funny. I looked up Planned Parenthood, and I asked the question. I was using AI and asking it. Has Planned Parenthood ever sort of said this? Have they ever suggested this in any of their literature? The one thing they say is you might be a bit sad. They have a little bit of that. They just about concede. There might be a bit of sadness, but basically, there are no adverse consequences.
And the thing that I found interesting about this and important is that it actually contradicts previous findings. And it is such a huge study that it was certainly something, and again, not by people with an axe to grind. It is certainly something I think is worth noting. And I really think it should be part of the informed consent process for women who ask for an abortion, because they need to be aware that there's a potential for a mental health consequence. The doctors who wrote this used the term risk. I didn't, they did.
Yeah.
And so, again, I didn't write it in a polemical way or saying, well, this means such and such. I described it and I quoted it and I linked it, and people can find it for themselves.
Yeah. I noticed, some of the comments on National Review were pretty. I kind of was a bit shocked by some of the tone of some of the comments. I don't know if you looked at all of the comments, but some people were quite.
I saw a couple who said that I tried to say this was causation, which was weird because I quoted the part where the doctor said this isn't causation.
Yeah.
So either they just read the headline or they don't know how to read.
Right. Yeah.
But it never fails. I don't read all the comments. I sometimes sample comments. You want to see what people are thinking, but it always kind of astounds me. And people reading into one guy said, this was an early comment, so I remember it. I would have been opposed to warning labels on cigarettes. I'm thinking, what? Where does that come from?
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
when you do stuff in the public eye, as you two know more than I do,
yes,
you've got high controversy in some of your work more than I do. People read things into your thoughts that you never thought, never dreamed of, and it's always very interesting.
They have a saying in the north of England: "There's nought as queer as folk." And you could definitely see that in the comments section of articles where they seem to be reading something completely different from what you actually
or commenting on something you never said.
Yes,
exactly.
But I thought one of the things I thought that was interesting as well was that the adverse results of an abortion were worse for younger people.
Yes.
People were less than 25, and I thought, oh God, well, that's actually
that is interesting.
Obviously the biggest population, and this is not being told to them. As Phelim said, this and actually you were quoting there, it's from Dr. Miriam Grossman's book, Unprotected, where she writes about the experience she had working on a university campus where this thing really, it just jumped out at her that they had all these posters up giving you helplines for having seen something on television about a flood, while meanwhile there was this huge population of girls, many of whom were having abortions, and nothing, no helpline, no kind of sense that there would need to be counselling. So,
it reminds me of a piece written by our prominent Irish journalist Kitty Holland before the Irish referendum. And it was one of these big pieces in the Irish Times. She was talking about the two abortions that she had. And, it was this pro-abortion piece. And, she had her first abortion when she was, I think, in her early 20s. And then she had her second one. I think maybe she was in her early 30s, and it was a later one. And I remember this line: "It took me a year to get over it." And I was thinking, so really it took you several years to get over it. If you say it took you a year, and it was just this, to me, it was the saddest line in Irish journalism I'd ever read, because there was so much packed into what if you're pro-abortion, why would it take you a year to get over it? If it's a clump of cells, why would it take you a year? So obviously she knows it's not a clump of cells. Obviously she knew there was...
Obviously she went through had some kind of very
there may also be a biological issue. There's an attachment that occurs between mother and a gestating baby. And to have that, it's like have a sudden loss of that, I think could have a physical reaction that could cause things. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, we're very grateful that you brought that article and that study to our attention, because I think it's very, very important. But we'll be watching, and we'll see if Planned Parenthood have changed their tack and warn people of the potential dangers.
Yes.
I think watch this space, right, Wesley?
That's right.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I wonder. I mean, it's amazing no one has picked it up. Actually, it's amazing no one on the right has picked it up either. It's kind of a shame. It's kind of, it's a pity, you know.
Yeah, you'd expect. It's a massive story. It has huge implications. If anyone cared about public health, they should care about this. And by the way, I think that point that we made about our friend Miriam Grossman, I mean, she was writing about this years ago, by the way, and realizing that, something as dramatic as that, something as devastating as that to happen to you, of course, it's going to have serious consequences. But anyway, very grateful, very, very grateful to Wesley.
So this is next, we're going to a little favourite story of mine.
I have to say, Phelim now, and Phelim and Disney now, that's a whole thing. You do have a little bit of an obsession there, Phelim, but you do. Now, in fairness,
I object.
After all you've done.
Disney, I may not be obsessed with Disney, but Disney are certainly obsessed with
yes, that's right.
Whatever.
That's actually right. They're obsessed with you. Or,
well,
a younger version of you.
Younger version of me. So Disney and the Democrats at the same time have realised they're not that popular anymore.
Oh, dear.
And the section of the community that they're most unpopular with is our white people and white men, and particularly young white men. No one wants to know them. They don't want to know Disney or the Democrats. And so funny, at the same time, they've both decided we need to do something about this. But as I was saying earlier, the first rule of change is
recognizing you have a problem.
Yes, they recognize they have a problem, but they're not prepared to elucidate what the problem is.
Yes.
Like, just to give you, let's talk about Disney. Disney had two of the most powerful franchises on the planet, maybe three actually. They had the whole superhero franchise, Marvel Comics. They had Star Wars, and they had Indiana Jones.
Huge, massive entertainment for all the family.
But they had one thing in common. They had a young man at the center of it, whose job it was to basically rescue the world.
Yeah.
Oh, very often young
and
women.
The girl,
and the girl. And get the girl. And
rescue the girl, and rescue the whole world.
Yes. And so then Disney decided, well, that obviously was old-fashioned. And
that's right, because women don't need to be rescued.
So they introduced...
Because women have agency, Phelim. I hate that phrase. Okay.
They have agency?
Oh, yeah, this kind of thing. There's a whole thing.
Agents?
No, agents. There's a whole thing about agency, apparently.
What is agency? What is that?
It means that you don't need to be rescued.
But where's the word agent? Why is that called agency?
I have no idea, but it's very new. It's very trendy, Phelim.
I know it's very trendy, but actually, just it struck me there grammatically. Like, where does that word come from?
No idea.
Because you have an agent, but then you have agency. It's just one of these words.
You're your own agent, I suppose, Phelim. It's kind of some version of that, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I don't think it's actually somehow, I don't think that the root is agent, by the way, in agency, bizarrely. Moving right along, Phelim. I mean, basically the problem is women don't need to be saved by white men. Is that correct?
Not only that, women now need to go and lecture white men about how toxic they are and how awful they are. So we had Indiana.
Well, that's a very attractive thing to watch on television.
Oh, especially if you're a man.
Yes.
Like, it's,
white man.
A white man, some girl boss hero who's perfect, by the way. They're all perfect. So Indiana Jones was lectured by his goddaughter that he was just a washed up old drunk has-been, like Indiana Jones, and she was the one that was going to show him. And
so charming.
And then Star Wars, Rey, girl boss, was going to tell Luke Skywalker. And Luke Skywalker was reduced to this bubbling idiot who sat on a rock off Ireland for most of the movies.
Wow.
Meditating.
Wow.
Yes. I could go on. Pirates of the Caribbean. They've been trying to get rid of Johnny Depp for years. They want rid of Johnny Depp. They're trying to bring in a Margot Robbie version.
They cannot replace Johnny Depp.
No.
Because people just love him.
Yes. They tried She-Hulk, attorney at law.
She-Hulk.
Yes. She's an attorney. She's a girl boss attorney who's also an incredible Hulk. You can imagine how that worked.
Is she a person of colour?
That's a good question. But I know she spends a lot of the series lecturing people about catcalling.
Apparently she's not a person of colour, which I really resent. Okay,
Yes,
move
that's
on.
why you didn't watch it. We had The Little Mermaid, which some of the songs, the romantic songs, I kid you not, the romantic songs in Little Mermaid
No.
were changed
To
to emphasize the
intersectionality of indigenous populations with something else. No.
no, the romantic songs were changed to emphasize the importance of consent.
Lovely. Yeah.
Talk about a romance killer there. Yes.
Okay. I
Yes.
didn't know that. That's very good film.
Yes, and Star Wars, The Acolyte, which you've never heard of because it died. It was
I was never big into Star Wars in the first place.
Yes, it was a TV series. They had a TV series and it was called The Acolyte. And it's a female-centered spin-off. And the creator said this would be the gayest series in the Star Wars franchise.
Stop saying serious film, because that's making fun of somebody that works in this company who's not here to defend themselves and who might be from a foreign country and might say serious instead of series. Okay.
Okay,
Sorry
but
about
I don't
that,
know who you
Magda.
could be referring to.
Okay.
So that just gives you a taste of Disney's boy trouble. And so now Disney without admitting they have boy trouble, but they know they have trouble, but without admitting what they've done wrong, they've just said, they said, please pitch us stuff that boys like, and it's like.
And have they worked out what boys like? Would they look back, by the way, in their catalogue and say, oh, boys like this, maybe we should try this boy stuff that worked in the past?
You could look at a certain jeans ad recently and
Oh
you
my
might see
God.
what boys like.
No, Phelim. Excuse me. Your wife is sitting right beside you now. We're not going to talk about jeans ads from the recent past.
We're journalists and we can talk about unpleasant matters.
Moving on. So have they worked out what boys like?
I don't think they have, but they've asked people to work out what boys like.
Are they going to give a consultant $56,000 a month to work out what boys like?
No, I think what they're saying is pitch us TV shows and programs and movies about that contain things boys like. It's like, okay, I could.
You could help them with that.
I could be a consultant on that one.
I know you could. I don't think they're coming for your advice, though, Phelim. Just.
Well, that's probably their big problem. Actually, is
Yes.
they won't take advice from young men. They won't.
Are you putting yourself in the young man category?
No,
now,
but
Phelim? I saw how he slipped that in very quickly there.
It was like after the 2016 election, all these news outlets said we need to find out who voted for Trump, and we need to hire reporters who. Do you remember that? It was about 3 weeks, and then
Who are these people who voted
yes,
for
we need
Trump?
to find out who they are. We need to have more journalists in the newsroom.
We need to round them up. We need to bring them in. We need to question them.
And we also have more journalists in the newsroom who know who they are and understand. And then they might have had a lunch with Molly Hemingway, and then just
Thought better of it
because she's
too clever. Too clever. They wouldn't want to be talking to her.
No. So
She'd show them up too badly.
yes. So anyway, the Democrats have a similar issue actually.
By the way, I saw a very funny thing today. I saw the Democrats are having some kind of, I don't know, summer convention or whatever, and they had very, very funny. They had a lady that came on to
was it a lady or was it a man?
First of all, a man.
Girl?
No, an actual woman. But they had a man spoke at the beginning and said, "Now I'm going to bring in such a woman to talk about the land rights, the land." It's very, very funny. It's very funny. If we can find that, actually, we'll play it now.
Is Lindy Somek, who is from the Saginaw Ojibwe Nation, and she's going to deliver our land acknowledgement today. Lindy.
Bonjour, Lindy Somek, Nindichinikas, Amik Saginaw Chippewa Dojaba, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning, DNC members, friends, and relatives. Let's talk about the land for a second. The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis. The Dakota cared for the lands, lakes, and the Wakatonka, the Great River, the Mississippi River, for thousands of years before colonization. This land was not claimed or traded. It's a part of a history of broken treaties and promises. And in many ways, we still live in a system built to suppress Indigenous peoples' cultural and spiritual history.
Okay, it's very delightful. And I always think with these land acknowledgements, and I saw a joke online and I'm going to steal it. When somebody does those land acknowledgements and they basically say you're sitting here on stolen land, everybody should just get up. Everybody should get up and go say, well, we can't be. I can't be here. I can't be sitting here and having my cocktails on stolen land. I'm going to go and find hopefully some land that's not been stolen.
It's ridiculous. Like up until Up until, I would say, 1860, it probably actually, no, up until relatively recently, land was stolen. Every piece of land.
All the land was stolen.
You look at the map. We have maps on our wall. We spent a lot of time of our lives in Romania, and we have maps on our wall. The borders of Romania.
It's unrecognizable now.
Yes, unrecognizable. There's Romania, Hungary lost 2/3 of its territory.
It lost Transylvania.
Yes.
Which is a huge error.
Yes.
Don't lose Transylvania, because Transylvania is very nice. Move on, Phelim.
But the Hungary lost 2/3 of its territory after the First World War.
It just happens.
Poland and Germany, their borders are constantly shifting.
But I also think the tribal groups that they're talking about in the United States were fighting each other all the time over land.
I think they
were. It was moving on all the time. So the idea that they could, work out who was originally there,
yes,
a bit tricky now.
Anyway, the Democrats have a Speaking with American Men project.
Isn't that lovely?
20 million budget.
Nice. I told you 56,000 a month.
You're cheap.
From a consultant.
You were cheap.
Yeah, but there's of course an army of consultants there now.
Anyway, they did focus groups,
to find out
why young men don't
like them anymore.
And maybe you shouldn't view young men as with words like toxic masculinity. Maybe you should stop using that.
Yeah, because a lot of men just don't like that.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe you should not run ads encouraging women to secretly vote for the Democrat without telling your husband. Remember that ad? The one place where women have a choice is in the voting booth, and you don't have to tell your husband. Imagine encouraging that. That's really, the men are really going to vote for you there because you're encouraging their wife to vote, to keep secrets from you. Yeah, great idea. So we're dealing with a party and a company, an entertainment company that actually hate. And that was another thing. Disney did it too, and the Democrats did it. It wasn't like that they decided to move on from young men. It was they actually hated them. And when young men complained, when the fan base of Star Wars, you actually had actors and creators of Star Wars attacking the fan base of Star Wars for being misogynistic and trolls. And it's like, we're your fans. We actually have. We're the ones who pay the bills. And when the creators and actors attacked the fans, shockingly, they stayed away. And when the creators and activists in the Democrat Party attacked young men and attacked men in general, shockingly and surprisingly, they stayed away. Mm-hmm. And so until you can... Disney has a better chance because...
Gosh.
Although they're both very ideological. Actually, it just occurred to me, Disney and the Democrat Party are both, they're not different. I was going to say Disney has a better chance because it's a company, but it's actually a deeply ideological company. It's almost more ideological than it is a business, and that's the Democrat Party, unfortunately. It's also, it's deeply ideological. And I don't know, and the ideology that is alienating to young men is propagated by the people who now control the Democrat Party, the radicals, the leftists. So the future is not looking good for either Disney or the Democrat Party, and no one's really crying.
Boo-hoo.
Yes, boo-hoo. Yep. Talking of the future not looking good.
And boo-hooing.
Yes, and boo-hooing. Kneecap have cancelled their sellout US tour as Mohara's court date approaches.
Mohara, which is Irish for my friend.
And it's one of the people in the band. So
and he's not very friendly.
No.
Something unfriendly about him because he kind of runs onto stage and says, up Hezbollah.
Yes, allegedly.
Allegedly. I believe there may be tapes of this.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yes. Let's see what he says in court. Now,
well, he's
way,
allowed to say whatever he likes.
Yes, we're on
the sorry, just to be very clear, we're on the side of let him say whatever he likes and let us criticise it all we want.
Yes, he's not on that side, by the way, because he signed a letter recently to cancel a conference in Ireland where people were going to say things he didn't like. So he wants free speech for him, but not for others. So anyway, in a post on Instagram, the group said the cancellations were because band member Mohara had his next court hearing. He's been charged with supporting terrorism. His next court hearing in London was scheduled too close
to the US gigs.
This I call bull crap on that. It's basically... They were not going to get a visa.
Yes.
To go to the United States.
I think they may have some difficulties getting visas at the moment.
In the current atmosphere, they're just not going to
I don't think Marco Rubio is going to be allowing people who are encouraging or
allegedly.
Allegedly.
No, actually, they are encouraging. They're pro-Palestinian. They have. They danced on the night of October 7th or October 8th on stage. You know, these are, held a Palestinian flag.
Oh, dear.
These are not good people. So
we'll see what happens to them. But I mean, missing out on all those US gigs is not nice. Now, I did see, however, that they are going to continue and get to go to Canada, by the way.
Well, this is what makes the laugh of, we cancelled it because it's too close to the court case. No, because they're still going to cross the Atlantic and do all their Canadian gigs. So it was really because, but again, this is bad journalism. This is where I'm reading this from, is the Irish Times, and they just printed what Kneecap said.
Oh yeah, of course.
And never.
So just stenographers for Kneecap, basically.
Yes. So we'll do this next story quite briefly. American journalist Alec Loon.
Famous and award-winning, by the way, Mr. Loon.
Yes, journalist. He's a climate change journalist. The
That's
ice
right.
is melting.
He's won all his prizes, by the way, in the climate arena.
Yes, and the ice is melting, the ice is melting, the ice is melting.
We're all going to die.
Polar geoengineering experiments bet big on freezing Arctic ice. Ice is disappearing, ice is disappearing. Then he was hiking in Norway, as you do. And maybe it's because the ice is disappearing, he didn't recognise what was in front of him. Because he stood on it and slipped and broke his femur.
And by the way, he wasn't found for a week, by the way. I mean, he's lucky to be alive, and we're obviously delighted that he's well.
Well, I hope he wasn't rescued by any carbon-spewing helicopter or anything.
Oh, God, I hope not. He'd hate that. He'd have preferred to die, obviously.
Donkeys.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Yes.
I'm sure it was.
Yes. So then, I'm sure he feels...
I mean, it's basically to add insult to injury then.
Yes.
The Guardian then.
The Guardian, who he has written.
The Guardian, who are great pals of his, had to write an article basically saying, oh, by the way, everything we ever said about ice is kind of wrong.
Dramatic slowdown in melting of Arctic sea ice surprises scientists. It may surprise scientists, but it doesn't surprise anybody else on the planet who know these things are cyclical. 1 season does not make a climate change, and 2 seasons and 5 seasons doesn't, and 50 seasons doesn't make a climate change. It's cyclical. But
it's very disappointing. So they've had basically 20 years of very little significant melt.
Yes.
And they had planned, well, they'd not planned, but they had predicted, a complete disaster. There was going to be no ice at all, basically.
And we're all going to be flooded because of the melting ice. And
so yeah, they've had to kind of apologise a little bit.
His broken femur, and there's the graph. Look, there's the graph.
Oh, that's funny. We put that graph up on the screen there of the declining of the melting, and it's exactly the opposite of a hockey stick.
Yes.
Because, the famous hockey stick where it's like, it's like everything's going to go up, all the temperatures are going to go up. But in fact, actually, the very opposite. Okay, we're coming on to my favourite story of this week. And I think this is the really important story of the week. So I'm going to put up, and any of you who are listening, and you really need to watch on YouTube because this is too important. So this ad appeared. It's a public safety ad, and it appeared. Yeah, the town is called Bowdoin in Germany. And so they had this public service announcement, and here it is. Look at it there now. So I'm describing it for people who are only listening in audio. You've got I would say a rather larger white woman with red hair who is...
Middle-aged, would you say?
I would say she could be. Who has her hand on the bottom of a brown person, a brown boy, by the way.
In a swimming pool.
In a swimming pool, a brown boy who is also disabled. And they have said, and it's all written in German, of course, and I will give you the translation.
Let me read the German.
Oh, are you going to read the German?
Stop. Grabchen verboten.
Can we have that again, Phelim?
Stop. Grabchen verboten.
Grabchen verboten. So some of you might know what that is, by the way, for those of you who are polylingual. So the translation is, stop. Groping is forbidden.
And then,
no one is allowed to touch you without your consent. If you feel uncomfortable, you have the right to get help. Say my name, Tiki.
Yeah, Tiki is the code that you say to
a person who's in charge of the swimming pool,
and they will know you're in distress.
So I obviously thought this was extraordinary because I was unaware of the fact that there is this huge problem of white middle-aged women touching brown boys who are disabled in pools across Germany. So I asked Grok, and because I thought this would be a good idea. And by the way, this is a game you can play at home as well, and actually it's really good fun. So I wrote to Grok, and Grok is the AI in Twitter, and you can write in Twitter and ask the question and see what happens. So I said, Grok, is able-bodied white female on young handicapped male groping a big problem in Germany? And Grok said, no. Based on police reports and statistics, Statistics. 2024, whatever data showing 65% of pool assaults by non-German males. Such specific incidents are not a widespread problem in Germany. The PSA's imagery has drawn criticism. Okay, fine.
For inverting.
Okay, I said, exactly. Inverting typical perpetrator-victim dynamics to avoid stereotypes. I wasn't happy enough with that, so I had to ask other questions. So my next question to Grok was, what nationality make up 65% of pool assaults in Germany? This is a great thing because you can just ask Grok. And Grok said, according to 2024 statistics, 64% non-German suspects in swimming pool sexual assaults, 237 out of 367 are primarily Afghan, 61 suspects, Syrians, 50, and
other nationals, including Turkish and Iraqi.
There we go. And then I asked one more question. Grok, would it be fair to assume the majority of these non-German suspects are 1, male, and 2, Muslim? Yes. Data on pool sexual assaults shows suspects are overwhelmingly male, over 95%. For religion, while top nationalities, Afghan, Syrian, are from Muslim-majority countries, basically Grok said, it's fair enough for you to assume that they're all Muslims.
Yes.
So I thought it was quite funny, but I loved the ad. I just thought the ad was really fabulous. It's kind of, so it's a public safety visual that shows you something that doesn't happen at all.
Yes.
And it's warning you about a thing that never ever happens.
Never happens.
And it's doing it because something else does happen that doesn't involve anyone in the picture that you're looking at.
Yeah.
But we're going to make this other picture and somehow hope that maybe you'll be able to discern that what they're really saying is men, mostly Muslim, immigrants, might sexually assault you in a pool.
Yes.
And by the way, it's pretty crazy stuff now,
Yes.
by the way. And it's kind of, and obviously it's so bad and so much of a problem. They've had to put up this PSA, but anyway, I just thought it was so fun. I love it. Okay, Phelim, we had some comments this week.
Yes, we've had a lot of comments this week, so please go to YouTube or go to the Apple Podcast app or Spotify.
And we love the comments, so please leave comments.
People are talking about the Orchid story we did last week.
Oh, yeah.
That's the company where they will take your embryos and screen them in dodgy science and dispose of the dodgy ones that they don't like.
Yeah.
And Sean Wright said, I was floored when they said autism would be screened out. My nephew has autism. Yes, it's hard sometimes, but he's also hilarious, brilliant with numbers, and the sweetest kid I know. If this tech existed 15 years ago, maybe he wouldn't have been born. That thought just guts me.
Yeah.
And then we did something about euthanasia. The euthanasia section out of Canada might even have been worse. A killing conference with 300 people sipping wine and networking sounds like a TED talk about efficiency instead of life and death. How is this progress?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's one here from Jordan Bruce Allen. My wife and I did IVF. They gave us these risk scores too. It was terrifying because it made us feel like choosing the wrong embryo would ruin a child's life. We didn't want to play God, but the system pressured us to. Listening to this made me realise how easily families can get manipulated when they're desperate.
And then we showed the clip from our movie, the Gosnell movie, last week about comfort care, and Douglas Kim said the comfort care story from Gosnell is haunting, wrapping a breathing baby in a blanket and waiting for it to die.
And he used some choice language that we had to bleep out, so we won't use that.
But thank you for writing.
But thank you for writing, Douglas. A couple of F's there that he had, but which we can understand. We've just come back from Ireland. There's a lot of that goes on. And then somebody else, Jean, has written here, Phelim and Anne.
Jennifer.
Sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah. So I remember the story we did about the big veterans disability scam.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. What did Jennifer say?
Jennifer says, Phelim and Anne, how do we blow up this information on veterans disability? I have a daughter who's now 26 years old. She has autism spectrum disorder, the real kind, not the self-diagnosed kind. Don't get me started. And is non-verbal, cannot do almost any daily activity without oversight, reminders and outright care. She gets $600 a month to live on. We do get a waiver from Georgia that helps pay for caregivers. If you only pay them $15 or $16 an hour, it can last a year. If we don't use that, there's no carryover, it is lost. So elderly and truly disabled adults like my daughter would be homeless on the streets or worse without family care and support. Maddening. And this is the scam we've uncovered. All these people, 30% of all veterans now, they serve 3 or 4 years, not in a combat zone, maybe get injured on the job, and maybe they don't. Maybe they fake it. And 30% of them are now getting about $4,000 a month in veterans disability for the rest of their life.
And it constitutes a massive amount of the federal budget, right?
Yeah. No, it's 2% of the whole federal budget.
Unbelievable.
So
2%. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, you want to talk now about it.
And just before we're coming to the very end of the show, and I know it's been kind of a long enough show, actually. Very good to be back in California. But last week was an extraordinary anniversary for the Goldberg Poland family. Their son, Hirsch Goldberg Poland, who was held in captivity by Hamas from October 7th. He had been at the Nova Party, and about a year into his captivity, he was murdered. He was shot in the head by Hamas, him and 6 others. Horrific. His mother spoke at the memorial last week, and I just thought, if anyone hadn't heard her, hadn't seen it, it's really worth listening to. So we're going to play out with that. I know the audio isn't exactly perfect throughout, but it's still worth trying to listen to it. But we will also print the whole of what she said and put it into the podcast notes. So with that, goodbye, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
We are born, we live, and we leave. These are the bones of what happens. There is more that fills the in-between. We love, we learn, develop, evolve, become, create. Along the path, we experience satisfaction, disappointment, happiness, success, failure, meet and part, cry and laugh and cry, build, nurture, grow, fail, fall, get up, break, heal, get stronger, get weaker, and we suffer, all at different times and in different ways. Some are here for a moment, and some are here for a century. But the finale is always the same. There is only one exit. Call it whatever suits you. And what is left behind can be a legacy, a lesson, a breeze, or nothing. If we are honest, usually nothing at all. Except love. It didn't get the memo. And this is to Hirsch. Sometimes I look deep into my own eyes. I unzip them, my eyes, and I can hear you. And I know you're here, inside, even though I can't see you. With my eyes that are your eyes, that are my eyes. Like the too big ocean that I cannot always see, but there is no doubt that it is there. I know it without seeing it, that it is there, mighty, and there. You in me, mighty, and here.